Good morning.
There she is.
Love your background.
Yeah, you like that, hey?
Great.
High tech.
Beautiful.
Yeah, how you doing? There's that smiling face.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other in person in a while. It's all
Well,
through social that I see you and follow you.
that's it. Yeah, we're just like a dream, right? We haven't physically seen each other and
In
man,
some time.
again. Yeah. Long time. Well, it's good. You look exactly how I remember you. You haven't aged a day.
That's all to do with food and products. Rodan and Fields. It's my
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. No, food and exercise will keep you young forever.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining me. I'm so yeah, so
I'm
glad to
pumped
have
to
you.
be here.
Good. Well, we yeah, I mean, we have so much to dive into, let alone just catching up with each other, which is the beauty of these things, as you know, right? So we can just chat and catch up. But just for anybody out there who might tune in, we don't want to do the math on that, but the first time that we met would have been what year? Would that be 90?
Probably 1997, 98, 99,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
97 to, I don't know. Is it 90 or maybe less than that? When did we graduate?
Well, this is why I like asking this
I think
question,
we
right?
graduated in 97 or so maybe it was 96. Could have been earlier.
So you graduated from Acadia in 97?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved to Calgary.
Right
So we
after.
saw each other in Calgary after that.
That's right. We did.
Yeah. So
I do remember that. Yeah. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I left there in 98. I didn't actually graduate. I moved on to greener pastures, but I just took off, chased the hockey dream, right?
nice. You've got to. There's this window of opportunity, opportune time in life when you can be an athlete and go for it.
Well, you know all about that. So which is why I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But let's dive in. So you obviously, I mean, from what I remember of you, of course, you were our trainer, athletic therapist for Acadia University, the hockey team. So I guess that would have been 97. And
Yeah.
I remember you were very good at obviously your job, but you were very fit and you're always smiling. That's what
Ah.
I remember too. Always happy and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I loved our time at Acadia.
Mhm.
Actually, it was before Acadia that I had decided that, athletics was my favorite thing in life. I loved to compete. Well, basketball was actually my first love.
Right.
And I played on the Acadia basketball team for only a couple of years, but then realized that I was more of a bench warmer than I was a
Yeah.
superstar basketball player. So that's when I decided, I'd go into sport medicine. And I always had this dream of going to the Olympics, but I thought if I wasn't going to be able to go as an athlete, basketball wasn't taking me down that road,
Mhm.
then perhaps I could go as the sport med personnel, part of the sport
Oh,
med.
okay. Okay.
That's
Cool.
kind of what took me into athletic therapy at Acadia.
Hmm.
And I loved it. I loved being on the bench with you guys. I loved being in the moment in the games. Like, I am so competitive, and my spirit is just like, I love racing. I love competing, and being in that environment is where I thrive. And so that's why
Yeah.
I kind of went the sport med route. But then
So you really, so you feel, so you had that. I mean, obviously, at the crux of everything, you were an Olympian and a bronze medalist. But at that time,
yeah,
you
I
said
wasn't
you
on
always
my
dreamed.
trajectory at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but did you said you always dreamed of being an Olympian?
Yeah, so
Hmm.
I'll tell you my story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll kind of go. Yeah, I'll tell you my
Just do
story.
it.
Here
Get
it
into
goes.
it. Let's go. Let's get it on.
So when I was little, I was 5 years old. My brother and I remember watching the Olympics for the first time.
Mhm.
And we had a pool at the time. It's Summer Olympics we were watching. And so whatever we watched on television, we'd go outdoors and compete. And so we were swimming in the pool, doing, everything that we saw, we did. If it was a running race, we ran around the house and timed ourselves in a stopwatch. If it was javelin, we'd throw a softball and see how far we could go. Anyhow,
Right. Right.
at that moment, that was really, it made a big impression in my life in those Olympics, and that we watched them for the first time, but we also played them as they were going along. And my brother's 2 years older, and he's bigger, faster, stronger, and I lost everything. I was the biggest loser in those Olympics. But we made a little rule that the loser had to raise the other one's hand and declare them world
Oh,
champion.
wow. Rub it in your face.
Oh yeah.
I
So
like
I
it.
had
I
to
like
raise
it.
his hand. We had a clothesline that had a kind of a doorstep thing up to it, and
Mhm.
that was our podium. So we'd go up the stairs, and then I had to raise his hand anyhow. So
Cool.
I think something that lit a fire in me, like, I don't want to have to raise his hand for everybody.
Right.
I fell in love with sport and play, and so that's where the dream began. And
Hmm.
so when I went to Acadia, I'd been recruited to play basketball,
Yeah.
and I really that was like I said, it was my first love. So I was really hoping that I thought that basketball was going to take me there to the
Sure.
Olympics.
Yeah. You're just
But I
chasing the dream.
realized
Yep.
again that that wasn't necessarily going to be the play, because I was a little fish in a big pond where, so
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, we were kindred spirits in that way then,
yeah,
because I actually, not to talk about basketball, but that was my other sport. And
okay.
I had to choose, prior to me, I guess, chasing the dream. It was probably 13 or 14. And
Okay.
but I really loved basketball, and I was pretty good at it. And there
Yeah.
were some schools, some university chatter, but I made junior at like 14, so it kind of decided itself. I just had to go,
Yeah.
but I always missed it. I love basketball, and then, but I mean,
Ah,
5'10", 250 point guard probably wouldn't have worked, right?
yeah. Well,
Basketball,
you never
maybe.
know. Never say never.
Yeah.
That's very
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. I mean, I slept with my basketball when I was in high school. Like, I loved it.
Okay.
That was I still love it.
You still love it,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's still a
Great.
fun. But anyhow, then after the Acadia days, because I was going the sport med trajectory, so I thought, that's what took me to Calgary. I got into a master's program there in sport medicine,
Yep.
and I sought out there because the Olympics were there in '88. And so all this infrastructure had been built around the Olympics. And so there was a human performance lab, the sport medicine center was incredible, and all the
Mhm.
national teams trained out of there mostly for winter sports. But if I was going to learn and be in the Olympic environment, I'm like, this is the place I wanted to be.
Yeah,
So
no question. Yep.
that's what took me to Calgary
Hmm.
to do my master's in sport med. And then, but it was my first time ever living away from Nova Scotia. And I didn't realize how much the water gets in you. When you're born and raised surrounded by
Hmm.
water within a 15-minute drive any direction, I didn't get it. I didn't understand how much of an impact it had on me
Sure.
and my nature. And
Yep.
so in Calgary, I felt trapped. I'm like, where's the water? I needed to find water. I felt like a fish out of water in the prairies and the mountains. And
Well,
so,
you're not alone there, I don't think, Trace, not to veer off, because I don't,
yeah,
everybody in Alberta, as you know, there's a lot of, well, everybody's transplanted. You're either born and raised, or you're transplanted, and there's a lot of us transplants here. And
yeah,
I came from Ontario, so
there's lots of great,
not as big of a deal, but especially the east and the western coasters that
yeah,
move here especially struggle, because yeah, you feel like you're landlocked, pardon the
yeah.
pun of our industry, but right, you feel like you're trapped, right?
Exactly.
So
And
I,
so
I
that's what I felt, and that's why. So one night I was in the middle of school, and I thought I need to get to the water. So I took myself down to Glenmore Reservoir, which
yeah.
is our drinking water in Calgary, or the main. And then I saw all the water sports that night. There's canoe, kayak, and there's even some small sailboats, and I saw the rowers, and I was absolutely fascinated watching them, and that I'd kind of grown up with Nova Scotia is a big paddling community,
Sure.
huge paddling,
Yep.
canoe, kayak are typical, but I hadn't seen many rowers.
Hmm.
And so seeing these long, beautiful, sleek boats and the long oars, and they just made look so graceful, the synchronicity of the boat and how
Yeah.
it looked beautiful. So I thought, I want to try that. Like, I want to
How,
give this a go. I just
how
went
old were you? Sorry, how old were you at the time, Trace?
24
24. Okay.
when I just saw it for the first time, 24.
Yep.
Like, I want to try it. So I went up to the office and no one was there, but there was a sign up sheet for a learn to row. So I put my name on the sign up sheet for this learn to row program. Like, okay, this will be fun, like something to do. It'll get me closer to the water. So I feel a little bit more,
Sure.
at home. And so got the call, joined the class. And when you're learning, they put you into eights. So this big giant boat, and it's girls and boys mixed, all ages. They just kind of throw you into this learn to row.
Hmm.
But even after the first week, like despite it being, I mean, we probably looked like, I don't know, drunk caterpillars out there with all these oars going all over. But
Yeah.
I loved it. Like loved
Well,
it.
and you
And
missed the water too, so
yeah,
perfect
I
storm,
was
right?
just as happy as a clam. And I even said to my learn to row coach, this is crazy, but I said, like, I am going to the Olympics in this sport. Like, I love it. I'm going.
Come on.
He looked at me and was like, crackhead. Like, she's totally,
You had a
you know,
premonition.
crazy. So, but I found myself I was just
Hmm.
obsessed with it after that. And like, I
Yeah.
need to learn everything about this. It's so much fun. I love it. I kind of found my niche or so um, really, that's how it
That's
began.
super cool. That is super cool. I love hearing those stories of how these things blossom, and sometimes it's by accident, but
Yeah.
ultimately at the root of it, you just miss the water, right?
Yeah. It was
And
all just missing the water. And then the feel of the water, like I just
mm,
like being to me it was such a graceful sport and that it just glides along, and little did I know how painful it would become. It's quite painful actually. Don't be deceived by how
no pain, no
the
gain.
and the emotion of it all, but
Hmm.
inside the boat there's lots of blackouts and lots of lactic acid. That's quite
Oh,
a little
yeah,
bit
I
more
can
painful than it looks. Yeah, so from there, that was in shortly after, well, it was 2000, I guess, is when I
So
took.
2000, yeah.
So
Okay.
I set my sights on 2004. I thought, okay, the next Olympics is, I mean, I had just learned to row, but I'm like, the next Olympics is 2004. So I'm going for Athens. That was my, here
Hmm.
it is. I put it up on the,
Shoot for the stars. Good.
so really my first mission would have to be to make the provincial team. And then, but you know what? I did really well on the prairie circuit. I had an awesome partner. She was from Winnipeg. Her name's Judy Layden. And the two of us went off to, there's a big regatta in Ontario called Canadian Henley.
Mhm.
And it's where all the club rowers go from across the country. There's about 3,000 athletes there. So it's a really fun regatta with everybody transcending into St. Catharines.
Yeah.
And Judy and I won. So we were the best double in Canada. That
Good for you.
wasn't national team. So these are
Right.
all club level rowers. It's not national team.
Okay.
But it's there where I was first kind of recognized by the national team and invited to come and play with them. So at
Oh,
that
that's
point,
amazing.
I thought, okay, well, I have a decision to make because I just been hired by the Calgary Health Region to create a program for a chronic pain center. So it was a pilot project the Calgary Health Center was putting on.
Hmm.
And I was to develop the whole program in terms of exercise rehab. So I'd been working on it for a year and a bit, but then
Hmm.
I got this call to, if you want to come to the center, there's a spot for you. We can't fund you. We can't give you any equipment. You
Oh,
have to bring
yeah.
your own boat. You have to bring
Typical.
your
Yep.
own oars. But
National.
if you want to come and practice, just be on you're welcome to.
Hmm.
So that's all I needed to hear. And like, I quit my job and I moved with no money, no boat, no oars. I had to figure all that out. I'm like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. Like, but I'm going to make this happen. Cause
Good for you.
like this, like I said, there's this tiny window of time in your life where you can be at your best as an athlete. And so if
That's
that
right.
door is going to open and this was my dream, I'm going for it. So I had a lot to figure out, but
Love
I
it.
went for it.
I
Like,
love it.
got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what,
Well, there's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of, and a lot of voices, right? Your own and other people, and you're crazy. And
oh, for sure. Like my parents had no idea how I was going to fund myself, or like, you're crazy. You just got your dream job with the Calgary Health Region, and like you're finally making a salary after being a student for like 7 years. What the hell are you doing? But I'm like, nah, I'll figure it out.
no, I'm doing this.
And,
Yeah.
they were actually quite supportive. Mom and dad are very much like,
Yeah.
okay,
You do you.
give
Mm-hmm.
her. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, or you don't. There's no mistakes in the world. I don't believe there's mistakes. It's
No, I'm with
you
you
try one
100%.
thing, it works. It doesn't, whatever. It'll steer you in a new
Got to get
direction.
after it. You got to get
Yeah,
after it. Can we back it up for just one sec, Tracy? So
yeah.
when you just for my own curiosity, how did you decide on doubles versus like singles? Was this strictly
Yeah.
based on I can make it if I go doubles, I have a better chance, or is it something you preferred? Or
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how actually you make it as a single. So
okay,
when you're invited to the training center, everybody's in singles to begin with.
oh
So
okay,
you're your own person. So
hmm
you're competing as a single
yeah,
within the country.
okay,
But the double was kind of what they saw me in the double where we were racing, which got me kind of the invite to get to the training center.
right,
But once you're at the training center, everybody starts in a single.
okay. So okay, they kind of
So you
figure out
have to
where
make your
you
way
sit, make your way up.
in there. And in the Olympics, I was a lightweight, and for lightweight rowing, the only Olympic boat is the double. So
Gotcha.
you have to make it as a single. So the top two singles in Canada became the double.
Hmm.
So you race off and then you do seat race matrices where they put different combinations together, and then the fastest
Mm-hmm.
combination should rise to the top. So um, ultimately you end up racing internationally in a double, but within country, you're always racing in a single to
Right.
secure your seat in the boat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Had to be fastest alone or
Yeah.
second
Yeah. And
fastest.
then set up the rankings, and then yeah.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so when I first got there, it was like I actually was competing as a heavyweight. I didn't I was 100 so lightweight is 130 pounds or less, and
Hmm.
the boat needs to average 125. And at that time I was 150 pounds, and I thought there's no way I'm a lightweight. Like I was lean, I had lots of muscle, I wasn't, so I thought, I'm not losing 20 pounds. That's
Yeah.
freaking crazy.
Impossible. Right.
No way, not doing it. So I just went heavyweight. But when you get to the National Training Center and see the other heavyweights in Canada, they're all 6 feet tall, like 180 and above. And here's me
Right.
at 5'8", 150
Powerhouses.
pounds, soaking wet, trying to be like, so
Yeah.
it was, I was surrounded by some really powerful big girls. And so I was a little among the bigs.
Right.
So that's how I tried to make the team the first time. So for this 2004 Athens,
Yep.
I actually, after being in the training camp for a year, made it into the Olympic camp. And from that camp comes the final 8 girls who would be selected to race the 8 in Athens. And so it came down to a final seat race matrix with another girl and I for the last spot.
Mm.
And I got cut from the team. I
Mm.
was like less than a second away over 3 races, but she won out in the end. So I went home to Calgary with my tail between my legs and thought like, because I have
Devastated.
such a positive belief that if you truly believe in something, you can make it happen.
Yep.
So when I failed to make the team that year, well, not failed, because again, I don't love the term failed, but when I didn't make it, like, oh man, like I really believed and it didn't happen. So I thought, okay, well now what? Like, you're kind of left at that crossroad again to make new decisions. Which
Which way to
direction,
go? Mm-hmm.
right? Do I go back and pursue my career, or do I try for the next round, the next quadrennial?
And at the time, in your mind,
Yeah,
you've failed
yeah,
at that event,
at
but
that,
you're
right,
not quitting, so
right,
that's not failing, right?
right. Not to quit. I just had to reevaluate how's
Sure.
the next 4 years going to go? What's that going to look like? And
Yeah.
so I had that summer off because the girls were in Athens racing, and so I went to work for a chronic or a head injury program. I was a key therapist for head injury, so I saw
Hmm.
lots of brain injuries, and I saw people that were learning to do the basic quality of life again, like clip their toenails, and that was a big celebration.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
so, but I realized that there's still a lot for me to accomplish, and I still have a passion for rowing. And like, life can be throw you curveballs. I was watching these people whose lives completely changed in an instant with a head injury, like, so I thought I have to go for it. So the decision was made. I'm going to go for it again. I've got another,
You're working in an inspiring,
yeah, environment where I
environment.
saw
Yeah.
people overcoming adversity in
Hmm.
way worse situations than I just got cut from a team. I wasn't trying to
Sure.
rebuild my life,
Poor me.
right?
Yep. Hmm.
So I'm like, okay. But then, so I was watching the Olympics. I remember watching them, and there's an older gentleman in Calgary. His name's Cameron Milliken. And he was, I think it's 75 at the time, like down at the rowing club every day. We were watching the Olympics together, and he said, Tracy, you can be one of them. I believe you can be one of them. And I said, yeah, well, he said, hasn't anyone ever told you you're competing in the wrong category? You're a lightweight. Like, you better start like looking at that.
There's that word again.
And so, like, I don't think so, Cameron. Like, I don't think I'm a
Hmm.
lightweight. But he planted this seed. It was enough of a seed of like, maybe I am a lightweight, right? Like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go to the human performance lab where I knew everyone because I'd done my master's there. And so, like, put me through the anthropometric measurements and just where am I body composition wise? Like, how much fat could I lose here to be at that? Like, could I
Right.
compete at that weight and be
Hmm.
healthy? Because that's a big deal to me. Health is, above all else, is your health.
Yep.
And so they dunked me and pinched me and did all this, all the measurements you've been through that
Yeah.
all the intranet.
Embarrassing. Hmm.
And they said, it's possible. You're going to be extremely lean. You'll probably be down to about 7% body fat. But if you do it in a way where it's monitored and we work with you, the exercise physiologist, the nutritionist, like, we can help you out, get down there in a safe, healthy way.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, let's do it.
Let's get after
So
this. Hey, Tracy, can I
25, yeah, go.
can I ask you
Yeah,
before we skip on? I don't want to forget about this.
yeah, yeah,
Cameron Milliken.
yeah.
Is he from Calgary?
Yeah, he's from Calgary.
Does he have a son? John Milliken, is that his son?
I think it is. John and Craig. I think he has another.
John, because John. I don't want to veer off here, but speaking of adversity, if it's the correct John, I went to school with John Milliken, and he was hit
Yeah.
from behind,
Yes.
and he was a quadriplegic,
Yes.
and he got his feeling back.
Yeah.
He's back. He's
That-
here. I went to school with him, and he married a girl who went to Acadia.
No way.
Yeah, Heather.
Hey, that's a small world.
So they're out here anyway. He was a quadriplegic. I
His
remember because it
name
happened.
is Sue. Do you know his mom's name is Sue? Is that
I don't know that. So I mean, we could have the wrong Milliken. I guess we can
I think you're
look
right.
after,
This is a story that seems to resonate. Yeah. I
I
did
mean,
meet
just
him.
it's
I did.
another adversity type story because I was at Notre Dame in 92. He was hit from behind. In 92, 93, he was a quadriplegic. And then that was when this whole, like Wayne Gretzky, I want to say Ken Dryden or Mike Bossy, they were involved with, they started the stop sign, the stop to not hit from behind. And they were helping John. I really should just get John on here. He could explain better than me, but he's back, and he's got some, I think he has some walking assistance now and then, but I'm going to reach out to him after this.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's an amazing
incredible.
story too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I thought, okay, let's do this. So I I hired a nutritionist at the Sport Med Center and developed a plan. Just got
Mhm.
to the plan, like, because if you have a blueprint and a map, you know where you're going, you know where you want to be. Stick to the program. So I
Sure.
ended up losing 25 pounds, got myself down to lightweight, and this was unbeknownst to anyone at the training center. So I showed up the next spring as a lightweight, and
And
I
you're like,
became,
I'm back.
yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
So I ended up being the top lightweight in Canada that year and beyond. But
Yep.
yeah, so
That what year was that, Tracy?
2005. So it
Okay,
was the
so
year
it's
after
I
the Olympics.
mhm,
After so the very first year, we ended up going to. So my first World Championships was in Japan,
mhm.
and at the World Championships, lightweights can compete in other events as well. There's double, single, and quad option.
Okay.
So in this year, because it was an Olympic building year, they're trying to build a nice squad for the next quadrennium. They put the top four of us into a quad for the World Championships.
Okay.
And so off to Japan we went, which is absolutely incredible to be
Mhm.
like flying into whole new territory, whole new world
Yeah.
to me,
Never been
and
either. Yeah.
the best in the world surrounding you. The mountains, they put us in this little mountain community, and we were in like kind of thatched roofed houses all around. It was surreal. Like
Cool.
I'm like having the time of my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyhow, we ended up winning the world championships. So not only did I was the top lightweight in Canada that summer, but we became the top lightweights in the world, our quad. So world
Amazing.
champions right out of the gate. I'm like, oh my, it doesn't get any better than this, right? Like
Like,
I
I'm
was
back.
so
I am
pumped.
back. We're back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And not the best part of that was that when I got home to Calgary, my brother picked me up from the airport and I made him drop everything and raise my hand and declare me world champion. Like for the first time. And like that was the best part of the
Oh,
whole.
I bet. That's been
That was
in deep in your pit for
uh,
years. Yeah.
years.
Good.
So
Oh, that's
that
amazing.
was pretty fun. That was a fun moment in the first,
So
you
all of
know.
a sudden, yeah, you're catapulted into now you're back. Yeah, you're on
Yeah.
top, and
Sorry, my.
that's okay. Hey, real world problems here these days. COVID at home, right?
Hi, Mom. I'm just on a webinar.
Welcome, Mom.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I'll talk to you later.
Hilarious.
Sorry
Hilarious.
about that. It rang
Oh,
on my computer. I have my phone muted, but it rang on my computer too.
oh, that's too funny.
That's funny.
Oh well.
Anyway,
Okay. So all right. So
so yeah,
so way you go. Now you're
now
champ.
we're
You're
off to the
world.
races.
I guess so. You call yourself a world champ then, or
We're
is that
world champions.
you're
Yeah.
world champions?
Yeah, world champion. So at this point, though, because I went to the training center without funding, I still wasn't a carded athlete. So I wasn't getting any funding from Canada, like at all during
Zero.
that zero. So I had to come back and go straight back to work because I like was flat ass broke. I had no money. I'm like,
Oh,
I need
yes.
to work right now for a few months to. So I went back and worked. I was still working at the head injury program, and
Mm-hmm.
so then after 5 months of being back to work, I eventually got carding. So I did get funding and was able to go back to the training center.
Okay.
But in
Good.
the
Yeah.
meantime, I had to find another sponsor because like my student loan payments
Sure.
and
Yeah.
$1,500 doesn't go very far when you have to pay rent, groceries, student loan payments. Like
No.
there was nothing at the end
You're
of the day. So
starving.
I started canvassing the oil world at that time in Calgary,
Right,
and
because your husband, or were you with him at the time?
I wasn't with him at the time. No,
Okay,
we were growing. We met growing in Calgary, but
okay,
different.
okay. All right. Another podcast. Love
But
stories.
yeah, yeah. Um,
So you were canvassing the
yeah.
oil industry because of
Anyway,
obviously where you are, and yeah,
so I was adopted by Midnight Oil and Daylight Energy, and
I remember them. Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
So they became my sponsors and helped me through that whole
I didn't know that. That's great.
4 years. So it was amazing because I not only did they adopt me, but I was really everyone who worked for them. There was about 750 employees who are cheering for you. You know, you really feel like you've got a lot of people in your boat when they take you on. So it's so important to help athletes out, because not only are
Yeah.
you helping our dreams come true, but it lifted the whole
Oh,
office,
it's
the whole community.
office.
Everyone was there with me. They were watching and following and getting excited, and hearing their stories later were as inspiring, like things that
Sure.
they did. So it really, truly was an honor to be adopted. And so during this 4-year phase, so every year you have to try out again.
Okay.
So just because you made it in 1 year doesn't mean, it's like in any sport. You always
Yep.
had to try out for hockey. Every year it's a new year.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. It's a fresh start
Doesn't
every
matter if
time.
you're a world champion. You're
Got to
right
make
from
the team.
scratch. As soon as you step off the podium, you're back at it again. So
Yeah.
the next year so they sent me off to the first World Cup. So we do 2 World Cups every summer and then the World Championship. So for the next 7 years of my life, it was 2 World Cups and a World Championship. So spent a ton of time in Europe and all over the world, just
Living the
seeing
dream.
meeting athletes, just play. It was just such a time of play and racing and joy. So in that 4-year period, we did 2 World Cups every year and World Championships.
Hmm.
So leading up to the Olympics, we had only missed the podium 2 times. Every time we went to the world stage, we hit the podium. So there were
Guys are
4 gold
juggernauts.
medals and bronze, silvers. Our double always was, Canada was one to look out for. So
Yeah.
when it came to the Olympics, it was that's kind of the pinnacle of
Sure.
what everybody's going for.
Of course.
Doesn't matter how you did at the World Championships or World Cups, it's all about
This is what matters.
the Olympics. It's the show,
Well, and
right?
the whole world is watching.
The whole
There's
world is
that.
watching. And it's not just you, it's all the best athletes at and when you walk into the Olympic Village, what really was astounding to me was that Olympians come in every shape, size, color, race, religion,
A lot of unassuming bodies, I'm sure, and people. Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the shot putter couldn't be any different in body size and composition than a lightweight rower.
Yeah.
But the fact that we were all there and we'd all accomplished the same thing was so
Must be
amazing.
just a big love fest because everybody's like, what you've been working for 4 or 8 or
Yeah.
however long, it's finally come to fruition, right?
So
Everybody's at the same. Yeah.
you're in the zone though. So you're not
Yeah.
until the second week. The second week there was a lot of partying, but the first week,
Yeah. Till you're done. Yeah. Sure.
first week you had to, there's lots of focus. But
Yeah.
so I remember being out. We were an hour outside of Beijing. So we were in a village called Xinyi. I'm probably pronouncing it totally wrong. Sorry for any Mandarin.
No checkers here.
But we were really, kind of on this little sweet spot in our own. And what was really remarkable was that you have this vision in your head of what it's going to be. And when I arrived on site, it was totally different than what I imagined, because I didn't think about that you have to qualify to make it into the Olympics. So already half of the competitors are gone. So at a World Championships, you've got
It's the condensed
countries, and now you're down to 12, right?
Right.
It's quiet. I'm like, where are all the boats? Where are all the people? This is kind of eerie. It was quiet and still, and just this moment. I'm like, I wasn't
It's a
expecting.
little weird. Yeah.
Imagine you build everything up and you think the Olympics, because when you see on TV, it's loud and there's cheering, and
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
all the stands were further down on the course, so about 500 meters to go in the last 500, but they were far away from the boathouse, and it was just kind of this peaceful moment of, oh wow, this is
like being back on Glenmore Reservoir.
yeah, back to the roots where nobody's watching.
Yeah.
So we were following in some footsteps of girls who had previously, lightweights in Canada they were, 2-time world champions in their day as well, but no one had ever made it to an Olympic final. And so that was we wanted to crack that code.
That was your goal.
Been a double in Canadian history that made the Olympic final. So we went out on day 1 and we were a ball of nerves, and we hit the line and we just I think we were scrambling, and that we came second, and it wasn't our best race, but it was enough to put us through. You know, it was the top 3 from the heat that would go on to a
Right.
semifinal and then a final. So we did the job, we did what we had to do, but then we calmed down a little. Like, we got that first race
You
out.
got there, yeah, get the jitters out.
Yeah, got the jitters out, made it to the semifinal. And there it was a day of, well, okay, nobody's ever made it beyond this point, right? Like, to get into the final. So our coach gave us the big talk, like, you know, today is the day, girls, you can make history. And he's going, and like, and then I could see that he was actually getting a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be all right. Like, it's okay. You know, I'm kind of, and I have to back up for a second. So a month before, he brought his daughter out in the boat with us, and his daughter's 13. And we were in this transition phase of like high intensity, high workload, like frothing at the mouth kind of exhaustion. And she saw this and thought, like, oh my God, like, what is he making them do? They look horrible. Like, Dad, make this stop. They're in pain. Like, this is awful. So his daughter says to him, she whispers something in his ear, and he starts to laugh, and he says, go ahead, tell them. And he puts his daughter on the megaphone, and she said, don't worry, just do whatever you want and have fun. And so we cracked up laughing, because she didn't want, she do whatever you want and have fun. Don't listen to him.
Don't be so serious. Yeah.
So then the day comes of the semifinal. We're getting in the boat. Al was a ball of nerves. He'd carried our blades down to the dock for the first time in his life. He'd never carried our blades, so I could tell he was nervous, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, we gotta like loosen him up a little. So we put our hands on the dock and shove off, and I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. We're just gonna go out and do whatever we want and have fun. And so then the 3 of us started to laugh.
You so laughed, yeah.
Like, you know, we just went out there and did our job. We had the most brilliant race. It was just so smooth and beautiful. We won the semifinal. So
Amazing.
Now we won the semi. We've made history. We're going to the finals. It's like everything that you dream of, right? So
sure.
All was going fine, well, and then it was 3 o'clock in the morning on the day of the Olympic final, and I woke up and I was scared shitless. Like, oh my God, what have we done? We're in the Olympic final. Like, oh my God. And I just wanted to run away. Like,
sure.
Like, holy.
That's scary.
This, you know, it's been a slice, but I am out of here. I'm like a bit terrified. So
you got to get the jokes going again. Yeah, I gotta stay loose.
Right. I got to calm myself down this time. So I pulled out my journal, and this is one thing for younger athletes, like, just keep a journal, because it was my lifesaver that night. I drug that thing out and I looked at all the workouts we'd done and the test scores that we were posting and the weights, and there was no missed day of training. There was like, we were pulling scores that were the best in the world. We were close to world record time. Like, we believed in what we were doing. I had notes that were tucked in there from friends and family, and like little pictures that were drawn for me. And like,
this is the culmination of that whole book right there.
Like, this is, yeah, although I still have all those journals. They're pretty sweet to look back at. But
yeah,
I realized that, you know what, the work is done. All the hard stuff, all the tough stuff is like, that is finished. This is the fun stuff. Like, this is where it's just fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because the workouts that we did before leading up to this were a hell of a lot harder.
It was tough.
Yeah. This is the fun. I love
enjoy
racing.
it. Let's enjoy it.
So we got to the final, and like, hearing the boats pulled across, like, Germany,
and who?
Finland, Canada, Netherlands, Greece, and China. That was our lineup.
That's what I wanted to ask you. And who would there be a nemesis at that time? Like someone you really went head to head?
It was their 3rd time competing in the Olympics. It was our first. It was their 3rd time, and they'd won the first time to the line. They didn't make. They came 6th, I think. The second Olympics, they got a silver medal. And
which team was that? It just cut out a bit.
The
Netherlands. Dutch. Okay.
Yeah.
Netherlands.
And then we had always had, like, China was current reigning world champs. They'd been there the last 2 years, world champ. Greece had been, there was a girl in the single who multiple world champion herself in the single. So, and then Germany was always in the mix along with Finland.
Mm,
So it was really quite a field
tight.
of any boat had someone in there who had won a world
Could
championship
pull
or
it
an
out.
Olympic medal before. So it's
Hmm.
quite a stacked field. So we went down the line, and it's the first time in my life I felt like I was almost just had an out of body experience. It sounds weird. I know. Don't, I'm not
No,
crazy. I,
tell it like you remember. It's great. I love
but
it.
it like it was an observer. I felt like I was very much an observer of what was happening
Hmm.
rather than being in
Racing.
pain or like that I typically felt. I just was really acutely aware and observing how it was all going. It was
Mm.
unbelievably like I could just see it clearly. Anyhow, we got into the last 500 meters, and there were 4 boats that were pretty much
Bro,
across the line. Nobody knew,
it was
like
tight.
it was tight. And now the pain was starting to set in a little. It's like, okay, now it's starting to hurt, but like now is go time. And there was
Yep.
when you hit the red buoys, there's 250 meters left. And so I know, like at that point, it's everything but the kitchen sink. And I could feel Melanie, my partner, was supposed to say the word launch, and it came out like, like it was nothing. Anyway, we went for it, and I was starting to black out, like the world was tunneling in, but we were,
Because you were laying it all on the line.
everything was out there. And
Hmm.
then beep, 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 photo finish. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Not once in my career had there ever been a photo finish. And now, like, nobody knows who placed where because we were just so in our own lane. And so I look over at the big screen and you see Netherlands. So gold medal's gone. And then it was a pause. And I think it's the longest moment of my life. The
Oh.
longest pause. And
Hmm.
And in my mind, I kept saying Canada, Canada, Canada. And I came up Finland. Like, oh,
Yeah, now you're in danger of,
like,
yep.
yeah, now it's and then seeing Canada third. I like took the biggest gasp of oxygen I think I've ever, and just like, oh, you'd think you'd be elated. Like, I just was really just trying to regain composure and get my breath and not throw up like in front of the whole world. Like, just don't throw up. But like relieved. There's a picture of us where it just captured the moment perfectly.
Yeah, that's a great photo. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, when you tell it, I mean, I well up a bit. Just like competition. I can't imagine the feeling. That's got to
Yeah.
be unbelievable.
Amazing. Yeah. Such a, and like the best part is when you get to the podium, and for us, there was no like, oh, we got a bronze. Like we didn't get, I see sometimes athletes when they didn't get the
They're
gold, they're
upset.
unsatisfied. That we were all jumping up and down and hugging each other, like, yay! Like it was just great.
Hey,
I didn't
medal. You got a medal.
Here's the color. Like you
Yeah,
celebrate each other and the fact that you all that day were the best in the world. And
that's
yeah,
right.
pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Oh,
So
it's amazing. All that hard work pays off, and then you get to go party, right?
oh yeah, week 2 was a huge party. The Sport Illustrated party, the Oakley party, the like, oh my god, Budweiser party. It was the second week was a wreck. You'd never know I was an Olympian. In week 2, bags under my eyes.
Anybody deserves it. You kind of hear.
10 pounds the next week. So yeah,
Well,
it
you
was.
kind of, us couch, couch warriors that watch, and you hear stories. You think you hear stories about these epic Olympic parties afterwards. But I mean, it just, of course, you're going to celebrate when you win, but it just makes sense. You guys have laid everything out there for how many
Yeah,
years, and like you
you
said,
don't party for years. Like
starving, and you're not partying,
yeah,
and you're trying to make money, and you're working your tails off.
yeah,
So blow your head off.
yeah.
Go have a good time.
Honestly, so that was a time of just celebrate and enjoy what I loved in week 2. It was also just enjoying watching others compete. The poor souls who had to compete in week number 2. I felt sorry for them because everything was done for us, but we actually got to take it all in at that point.
Yeah,
And that was a dream come true for me, just to be at an Olympics watching others,
of
play
course.
compete and race, and that was really fun.
And
So,
you get
and
to take
meeting
home.
other Olympians as well, like making friendships that I still have in week two. And that actually, I ended up going to New York City, and that's another part of the story later if we get into that. But
Sure.
I met an Olympian there who I ended up living with in New York City for 6 months while I went to cooking school. So a lot can happen in that week. Lots of new friendships, lots of incredible experiences.
Yeah, well, that's probably a whole other side that maybe doesn't get told
Yeah,
as much as it should, right? Because then there's the aftermath and
right.
what happens and transpires, and like you said, meeting people, and there's probably relationships and people dating and all
Oh
kinds
my
of
gosh.
stuff, right?
Well, yeah, two of my very best friends in the world who are now married.
Hmm.
One was a swimmer, Darcy's a rower. So Rich and Darcy met in the Olympic Village, and
See you
10 years
later.
later, they're married with three babies. So there's, there's lots that happens in the Olympic Village, new budding relationships, and
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
others that are probably untold.
Yeah, I can't tell those.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, yeah, for sure.
it's so amazing, and I love these kind of stories, and it's great to reconnect like with people, especially that you may have known or went to school with, and then to hear that you went on. You were our athletic therapist, and off you go, and you just chase your dream, and you do it, and you pull it off. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I don't know if I ever told you this. I probably didn't tell you this, but so after I would have met you, like you said, back sometime between 2000 and 2005. I can't remember when I would have met you, but I knew you had started rowing and you were going for the Olympics. And
Okay.
you had told me. So at the
Okay.
time, uh, I was working in retail at the time. I was managing a place called Fitness Depot, right? Thought I'd
Right.
work for a summer and just stayed. And anyway, so you'd get days off during the week. Usually you pick your days. And so I drove by that reservoir every day and I said, you know what? I'm going to go. Like, because I was a runner and biker and all these other physical things, but I never rode. So I said, I'm going to go rowing. So I went down there
Oh my God.
and just to rent something, right?
Okay.
So I'm looking through all the kayaks and things like that. And I go and I pick this little sport kayak. It's a mini, it's a
Hilarious.
tiny thing, right?
I know the
So
one you're yeah.
I know nothing about this sport.
They're so tippy.
Well, I get in this thing and I'm not small, I'm probably 220 at the time. I get in this mini thing on Glenmore Reservoir,
Yeah.
and I just start, yeah, it's tippy and I'm kind of rocking back and forth. Anyway, I kind of make my way to the middle of Glenmore Reservoir. For some reason at the time, I have these cool racing shades that I never bought shades, but for some reason I spent like $150 on these
Oh shit. They're at the end.
Carrera sport things. You switch the lenses out. Anyway, I'm out in the middle of this lake and I knock my shades off.
Oh yeah.
So I go to pull it with my paddle and I flip myself out of this kayak about 3 minutes in and it's like glass, like not a ripple, right? So I
Oh,
get out to the middle of this lake, I flip, and then when I'm upside down, I'm thinking of all the movies and things you hear about. So I'm underneath the water going, "Ugh," and I'm turning and I'm going, nope, can't get up. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of air. So I pulled out, popped up, lost my shades. I'm leaning on this kayak. I hear this loud, there's a big
oh
ferry,
no. The Moi.
big ferry, a
Oh yeah.
heritage boat for tourists and stuff.
Oh
It's got the old wooden mill. It's
yeah.
coming right at me. So so I dragged the boat to this little island in Glenmore, and I walked back and I was like, well, that's kayaking. So, but that was because you told me you were rowing.
Oh, it's such a beautiful spot though. The lake. And how many sunglasses are at the bottom of Glenmore Reservoir? I think there's at least two of mine at the bottom. If
Oh
someone
yeah, sure.
went scuba diving there, they'd mint it.
They'd clean up.
Yeah, they clean up. Little yard sale, have a yard
Yeah,
sale with all the glasses.
totally. It's a beautiful spot. I still go out there and jog, or well, I can't jog as much anymore, but I'll ride the bike or I walk, and I take Brooklyn, my daughter, out there, and
Your
I
daughter's
just
in Brooklyn?
it is, yeah.
Mine too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes,
Okay. Well, so how old is your Brooklyn?
she's 6.
She's 6. Okay.
Yeah, and
And you're
Olivia's 6 and 7. I had
okay.
them 14 months apart. I was getting on in age. I'm like, oh God,
It's time.
whatever we have before 40, that's it. Like, so at 37 and 39, I had my babies.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just into my 40s, so yeah, 46 now, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, that's my today's birthday is 46.
Yeah, happy birthday. I didn't even say
This
it
year.
on. Yeah, that's great. Perfect time to have a chat and relive the golden days, right?
Yeah, right?
Oh, that's so good. That's amazing. Well, so okay, well, so now you did mention your, I guess, so you've got a lot of stuff going on. You are a busy woman, and I love that because I have a lot on my plate as well. I like to keep busy, but so your husband, what's his name?
Jared.
Jarrett, and so he's also a bit of an entrepreneur like yourself. So
Yeah.
what you guys are doing whiskey together?
Yeah. So I'll tell
Tell
you
me
a little
about that.
about that story,
Yeah.
how that transpired. So Jared is an entrepreneur through and through. He moved to Toronto when I was still rowing, and we had gone our separate ways. Like we'd met rowing, but 10 years later, he was in Toronto building a solar energy company,
Hmm.
Helios Energy. They became the 20th largest producer of solar in the world. So
Wow.
he kind of hit it out of the park with his profession,
Hmm.
and at the same time, I was in this direction doing my rowing thing. And his business group in 2010, they wanted to have an Olympian come and talk to them because 2010, Canada's hosting the Olympics.
Yep.
And so uh, they asked if, someone could come. So I was hired by somebody in his business group to come do the talk with them in Toronto. I was living in London at the time.
Hmm.
So still training for the next 2012 Olympics. But
Yep.
anyway, I get the call and Jarrett's like, hey, I know her. Like I rode with her when we were in Calgary, and nobody in his business group believed him. Like, yeah,
He's like,
right.
yeah, perfect.
Like, not a chance. Anyway, we reconnected at that time, and yeah, so the rest is history. We kind of
Yeah.
reconnected. Off to the races we go from
Tied the
there.
knot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when we moved here to Nova Scotia, so my family is all here after the Olympics that we decided we'd move to where my family was. There's a huge Cameron tsunami here in Nova Scotia, and I'm a big part of the tribe. We're big,
Yep.
family people. So we decided this is where we were going to live. But if we were going to have opportunities for work, it was going to be something that we'd have to kind of create ourselves, because the entrepreneurial life and being, lifestyle design, you want to work when you want to work on what you
Yeah.
want to work on, and so on. And so Jet got here and he was looking for different opportunities, and he was actually drinking a scotch with my dad at the
Hmm.
time, and we're out on the Cape overlooking the ocean, and we're surrounded by farmers' fields and farmland. And he said to Dad, I think we could make this. And they were already a little bit into the sauce and like,
Yeah.
oh, here we go.
Next idea.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyhow, it was within I don't know, half a year later, we were off to Scotland to actually investigate. He's like,
Oh, I
but
love it. I love scotch. I crush scotch. Great.
yeah,
I
if
love it.
you don't go, you don't know. So they like, if we're
That's
gonna
right.
make this stuff, we got to go to see how it's all done.
Hmm.
So I was pregnant at the time, like so I couldn't indulge in any.
Oh, too bad. Yeah.
But we went through all the different distilleries in Scotland and started investigating how things were done, and decided, you know what, let's do this.
Mhm.
Why not give it a whirl? Because in
Yeah.
Nova Scotia, what are the ingredients? It's rye, it's barley, it's wheat. Like all the components grow extremely well here.
Hmm.
And there's farmland is a dime a dozen because everybody's moving away from rural into the
Yeah.
city. So we were able to, like, honestly, it all happened so fast. We picked up 200 acres of land. We started setting up the distillery from an idea, like a glass to a bottle, takes a lot of work, everything
That's
in
how it
between.
happens. Yeah.
Um, but it happened pretty quick. Jarrett is really good at pulling things together, and we made our brand, and we were making whiskey in the cover of darkness to begin with. In that time, we
Yeah.
were like importing a little still from New Zealand that you were only supposed to distill water in, like,
Right.
but we got our first bigger still, and I remember Jet being blown across the patio from the BTUs from the
Oh yeah.
like I was setting up a breast pump and he's being blown across, like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And that's how it ends for him.
All about
So
scotch. Blown away by scotch. Yeah.
so anyhow, we started this business and now we're the our second favorite whiskey, our second best-selling whiskey after Crown Royal in Nova Scotia.
Kidding. Amazing.
Yeah, and we are also in Alberta, and
Mhm.
we're off to China soon. So we're starting to branch out a bit. We were in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey for a while, but the
Mhm.
US is a really tough market, and it's a yeah,
Different animal.
it's
Different
an
animal.
animal. We weren't quite big enough yet to be
Mhm.
in that scene, but
It's
it
called,
was
Caldera, right?
Caldera. Yeah.
Caldera. Yeah. How'd you come up with the name?
Yeah, so Caldera is, well, it's a boiling pot. It's
Okay.
in, it's a crater, it's still,
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but back in the early 1800s, River John, the community where we live, is a huge shipbuilding community. And so there were 5 different shipbuilders in the area. And at the time, they were producing the largest boats in the world and selling them like to Italy and France. And like these boats were leaving Canada and going abroad. And so they had this major competition, who could build the biggest boat. And so there's 2 boats that were in this coming to the final mile. It was the Caldera
Hmm.
and this other boat called the Warrior. And you know me, competition, loving this competition and where the names,
Yeah.
but the Warrior ended up winning by tonnage, but the Caldera was a more beautiful sleek boat. So, and it fit with our name in terms of what the meaning of Caldera is, a
Right.
boiling pot. We named it and put the ship on one of our boats, like in the
Yeah.
special. It's our ship on one of our bottles. Sorry.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so that's how the name was born,
Hmm.
for
Super
sure.
cool. So when did you, I guess, when did you guys officially launch that then?
So it may have been 2012 where we incorporated, and
Hmm.
2013 is when we were starting to produce the first
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
And so it takes 3 years. So we had like there was a lot in the works, like to
Oh,
pull that
I'm sure.
and recipes
Yeah.
and assistance from other, like taking a recipe to somebody who's bigger who can help us with our first few batches until we get
Get it off the ground.
everything up to production. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a really neat community to be part of.
Oh, that's great.
And we
I
live-
actually dream about doing something like that. Well, both wine and scotch. I would get into either or. But I I have had yours and it's delicious, by the way. So,
Thank you.
um, yeah, I'd love to do something like that, but I'm sure it's not easy to get that off the ground. So,
It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I'm
It was
sure.
more so from when you're building a whole brand just from the idea, so you don't realize when you pick up a bottle of something how much goes into it, even just from label to neck labels to top to where you source everything, and how
Yeah,
even just the blending of that's the that's the most fun, actually, is where you create the blend.
create it. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I'd be all over that part. Maybe
That's
only
my
that part.
favorite part. It's the tasting of it, and
Hmm.
that's the sweet part of the job.
Yeah.
That's where I come in. Jared does all the hard stuff, and I just
Yeah.
come in for the, oh,
Here,
let me take that. What do you got there?
here, drink this. Ah, don't mind if I do.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we love it. It's just one of the businesses though. Jared's now, the goal is to get something running so that it's running without us.
Yeah, run
We're at
itself.
that
Sure.
spot now where the
Hmm.
business is running kind of without us. And certainly we're going to try to look for new opportunities to make it grow. But in
Hmm.
the meantime, we have other businesses that we're starting and going with. In particular, for me, I accidentally came into one of my side gigs, which is skincare. You can see it in the background. Actually, I'm
Oh,
noticing
nice.
it.
Yeah, product shot. Yeah, well, you got to do that. That's why I got the virtual up in my
Oh
sweater,
my
and
God.
you got to promote. Yeah,
Well, but it was like, for me, I came across it accidentally in that
yeah,
9 years on the water of 6 hours every single day takes its
Hmm.
toll on a girl's skin.
Sure.
So
Yeah, of
I was
course.
looking for good product is really how that all happened. Like, shit, if I'm going to be buying this stuff, it's kind of expensive. Like, I might as well distribute it and try to earn my skincare for free. And so
Yeah,
that took off to the races. I'm like, this is beautiful. I love this little gig. And, I'm helping all my friends turn back the clock. So that's
of
fun.
course.
That was
Yeah.
one of my accidental side gigs.
Well,
But
you're glowing. You're glowing.
oh,
Beautiful.
well, thank you. I can recommend a good distributor right here. Any girls watching, I've got your back.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so
But
how long you been doing that side hustle now then?
yeah, that's been a couple of years.
Couple years, yeah.
2 years. Yeah,
Yeah, I know
2 years.
a few girlfriends out here and friends of my wife Dana. I know some people do it out here, and yeah, you can really nail it out of the park if you've got the yeah, you got to get after it, right?
Yeah, in anything, you have to work your business. If you're
Yep.
going to grow your business, you need to work your business, and it's no different. You set your goals and how many people do you want to reach out to each month, and
Yeah.
everything. Sport comes into every aspect of life. You
Well,
can,
it does. It
and you
does.
just create your blueprint. You create your map. You get an idea, have a
Mhm.
vision, create the blueprint that's going to take you from here to there.
So yeah, it's so important. Yeah, that's why we're big. Obviously with pushing our daughter and hopefully a second soon. We'll yeah, sports. I don't care what.
Yeah, me neither.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, I'd prefer it even if she picked up something cool that I never did, like the sex games, skateboarding, the little scooters. I don't care. Just
Totally.
go, be involved in sport, and yeah, it's
Well,
so
and
important.
self-esteem too.
Self-esteem. Yeah, you're right.
And confidence. Sport gave me so much confidence because if you can go out there and face the world, like the toughest competitors in the world, you can do anything.
Yeah, no question. Well, yeah, look
You
at you,
know?
look at you. You're just taking on the
So
world.
yeah.
Well, so and you mentioned just because we had a quick catch up, but you mentioned you were going to do a webinar and on I think this past weekend. So what have you got going on there?
So this is my newest business. This is
Hmm.
the one that I'm really, really excited about.
Okay.
Um, I fully believe in, so let me back up a second. So I think there's been enough people in my family and friend circle who have, we're getting into that age where people are experiencing illness and disease and
Yep.
even some are dying, right? I'm watching it a little bit from the outside, but having this knowledge and background in exercise physiology and sport medicine and going to New York City and taking the natural gourmet where it's all food for health and healing,
Hmm.
I'm watching how modern medicine is operating and that no one talks about how food is medicine, exercise is a prescription. Like
Yep.
these things can help so many people and so many chronic illnesses that are out there that don't need to be if you turn your attention to the end of your fork, like, or
Well.
to the, so, so
Yep.
recently, I have to say what really ignited it. My uncle passed away
Hmm.
from cancer, and no one said to him when he went to the hospital, like, if you eat sugar, it's going to feed the
Yeah.
cancer
Yeah. What
cells.
are you
And
eating? Yeah.
right, like they just eat whatever you want and we'll get you ready for chemo and radiation. And I'm all for chemo and radiation. Like I fully believe in modern medicine, but
Hmm.
I think that I really truly believe that we can do so much to help our bodies heal on their own. And if we can help the doctors by doing our best that we can, that is within our control, then that's the best of both worlds, right? That's so
Agree.
I had to do this webinar. I had to do and about how we can be a part of our healing
Hmm.
process and our journey. And so this webinar that I did on the weekend was I focused it more on longevity and aging, healthy aging, because as we age, those are where disease starts to creep in. This is the time that, so how do we prevent that? How do we not even get into that phase? So I developed a concept of FAR. If you want to live long and go far, there's only 3 pillars you need to focus on. So the F is your fuel or your food. How are you fueling your body? What are you putting in? And so there's a whole, all around real whole foods philosophy. That's
Hmm.
mine.
Yep.
And then next part is activity. The A in FAR is activity. So that's exercise. People get freaked out by the word exercise, so I had to name it activity because I exercise to some is
Smart.
like
Yeah. Well,
it's
a lot of people don't do it, right? Yep.
right. So
Hmm.
just move your body. The point is you need to move your body every day.
Yeah. Just walking.
You have to move. Go for a
Hmm.
walk.
Yep.
And the benefits from that are unbelievable. Like you can list a whole page full of benefits from just simply putting your sneakers on and going for a walk.
Hmm.
And then the R part of the equation is rejuvenation. And to that piece incorporates a lot in that it's what brings you joy, what brings energy back at the end of the day when you've been working your butt off and, you know, head down, ass up. You got to come back up for breath somewhere. And what rejuvenates your spirit? What brings energy back? So that's all things from writing to painting to singing to whatever it is that brings you energy back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the art. And sleep is a big part of that because the
Well, it
sleep,
has to be.
everything is repaired. That's where we hit the reset button every day. We get to hit
Hmm.
that reset button again. And so my belief is that, and so this is where I'm going with the new business concept, is that my belief is everybody says they want to, they get always have a chance to restart or refresh, but I don't believe that. I actually believe that you are where you are, and wherever you are, that's fine.
That's right.
Can't rewrite the story. We don't want to start at the beginning. Start right where you are, and you get to write your ending now.
Hmm.
This is the point. That's the pivotal point. Don't think of it as a new beginning. Think of it as now I get to write the ending that I want to see in my life. So,
Yeah.
how's that going to look?
Hmm.
Is it going to look vibrant, full of vitality and like joy, or is it going to be stuck somewhere where you don't want to be? Right? But you've got the pen in your hand now, and you get to write the story. And by using the pillars of FAR,
Hmm.
do something every day in one of those areas, and your life will start to change.
Yeah. And it will
So that's
change.
where I'm going with that.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I I think I try to live like that too, but I think, recently, like I've had some heart surgeries, right? I've had a couple now. And I was always, being, I guess, an athlete and playing hockey in my past life, I cared about it, my
Mhm.
health. But then I also destroyed my health by, drinking and eating like a savage and doing all those things that we do. So where's the fine line? I was always coming back to working on it, but after the
Right.
surgeries, I've really learned, like I made a conscious decision, especially on the eating front,
Yeah.
is really to um, just eat healthy.
Just
I'm,
keep it
I'm eating.
simple.
I used to count calories and do all
Yeah.
these things and do
So did
the
I.
do
I'll
the
never
12
in my life.
the fit for life programs and all these, and they do work, but they're all like actual diets. I really committed this time, and it's only because of the heart surgery.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's how it had to hit home, but
And
it's
that's how
like,
it happens for so many people. But
this
it's
is for life. It's yeah, it's forever. And so just eat healthy, and when you don't want to eat healthy, then don't, like have your cheat meals. You got to live.
there's 80/20, right? Like on
Always
Tuesday night,
go.
have the pizza. Like,
Yeah,
what?
do it.
But most of the time, you just want to
Mhm.
stick to keep it simple, just real whole foods, period. And
That's right.
I'm a fan of, I eat meat and fish and
Hmm.
dairy and sprouted grain breads. And like that's part of my life. I'm not going to give that up. But my dairy might be smaller and I might drink more almond milk, but I'm still going to have the cream in my latte. Like nobody's taking that away from me.
Yeah, no, you gotta.
But, yeah, try to choose the best quality that you can. Go for organics,
Hmm.
go for the good quality fats, like have that beautiful avocado and olive oil all over your salad.
Yeah,
And then,
essential fats. Yeah,
yeah, and fish and um, humanely raised beef,
of
grass
course.
grass finished. You have to, like, I lived in Alberta a good time.
You
I
know.
like that beef.
Yeah, the beef. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is good out here. There's no question there. Oh, that's great.
But that's something you can do for life. Just enjoy your meals. Just don't go,
Well, it's in excess, and really, I guess if you look at it, it's the commercialism and the media and the commercials and everything that's in your face about fast food and eat this and eat that, and that's just advertising to sell their
That's
product.
a whole other
But
webinar. We could go on for a whole other
oh,
hour.
right, I know who knew we'd be so healthy.
Yeah, right?
No, but it is important, and I mean, you spent your life in the game, especially with starting from athletic therapy and carrying on. But I tried to incorporate it too into this business, my the Great Northern Drilling, even though like I wanted to tie it to the heart, like I mentioned, and this coincidentally today is the start of Heart Month, right? Heart Awareness Month. And so we're getting our hoodies out, but behind the GND, we've got grit, no quit, and determination, which is
Ah,
always well,
love that.
just I mean, I always keep swinging, and like you said, you got to take chances, and but I think just getting back to what I was starting with the GND, and I wanted to tie it to that heart piece because we have to be healthy,
Yeah,
and it's the number one killer. We've got COVID going on. Doesn't even it pales in comparison to what happens to hearts on the planet, and I think a lot of that has to what we're putting into our body.
100%.
You
And
know,
lack of movement for many. Like
lack of movement,
when you're
activity. Hmm.
exercising, it's clearing those arteries. You can, you know, maybe eat a little more when you're exercising because there's some balance there. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just I'm glad that you've turned the corner and that you're
I
in good
have.
shape
Yeah,
and that you still
yeah.
have a beautiful life ahead of you to write your story.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
Pen
amazing.
pen still full of ink. Still
Good
still
on
writing her. Well,
you. Good on.
I had good chats with my surgeon, and I something kind of hit home there too when I asked him, because mine is a mechanical issue.
Okay.
It was the valve, right? And so it's not necessarily what I've done. It's the blockages are more serious, and you can curb it, but mine was just mechanical. But I asked, if I go full vegan, or if I go organic, and I quit drinking,
Yeah.
and I'm working out, um how's that going to look for me in the future? And I'll never forget, the cardiologist said, well, what do you do for a living? And I was like, well, I'm a sales guy. I'm in marketing, and that's what I do, so I'm busy. And he goes, okay, so what kind of life is that for you? I said, well, yeah, I do a lot of entertaining and meeting with people. And he said, okay, well, you can still do all that. He said, but if you want to clean that up, that's on you. Your heart is still wonky. He just said that's a mechanical thing. You're not going to fix it. But if
Yeah.
you want to get better, that's on you. And do it. And I decided right there, you know what? Because I guess if he had told me, if you don't,
Yeah.
you're dead. That's a different. For
That's
me, it
a
was like, I don't have to change. And I did that after my first surgery. I don't know if you knew that. After my first surgery, I thought I said, I'm going to change everything. And then I woke up one day and went, no, I'm changing nothing. I want to live the way I want to live.
yeah.
And then I had to have another surgery. It wasn't because of anything I did, but I just went, okay,
Yeah.
that's 2 heart surgeries. Uh, I can be better.
Yeah.
And then of course be around for my daughter. So I just choose to, we still enjoy our wine and our scotch and all that good stuff, but we just eat.
Yeah.
We eat better. Yeah.
But there's resveratrol in wine, and that is anti-aging, my friend. Maybe not a whole bottle like I tend to do, but
Yeah,
anyway,
well,
that's another story.
we're not getting any younger, right? It gets tougher. The mornings are tougher.
Yeah, right.
And so I saw, Tracy, too, a while ago. You had so you're into podcasting and stuff too, were you not?
Yeah. You know what? I actually am mentoring other Canadian athletes who are
Mhm.
going to 2021. I've got kind of a mentoring gig on the side. I do lots of talks to different groups, so corporate groups that are looking for inspiration. I'll pop in and give them different talks. I'm starting, like, just my own little bathroom series on skincare.
I saw
I
that.
thought this is I'm not a salesperson. I'm actually pretty terrible at sales, I think. I'm good at sharing about things that I love. If I've read
Mhm,
a good book, or if
mhm.
I'm using a cream that I'm like adore, I will tell people about it. I'm like, oh my God, you
Mhm.
gotta have this. Like, this is so, you have to see this movie. You need to read this book. I get pretty pumped about things. So when I have something that I love, it's an easy sell for me because, I
Yeah.
clearly speaks to me, but
But you actually are a good salesperson. You just
wow.
don't realize it because you're also not egotistical about it. It just comes across you're passionate, and people,
Yeah.
it's about getting people to trust you and like you, and you're
Yeah.
just so likable as it is, and you're passionate. So easy sell for you.
Yeah. So I thought I've never actually marketed myself as the Rodan and Fields, kind of, but I thought, why not try something? Because there are people out there that are looking for solutions that, I didn't struggle with acne, but so many teenagers and
Oh,
even adult
I got
women,
stories.
like
I
so
was
many,
bad.
you feel for
Mhm.
them. And like, if I have something in my toolkit that can help someone with their brown spots or their acne or their sensitivities in their skin, people that can't like even put anything on because it's painful. I have something in my toolbox for them. So I thought I'd make this Bathroom Confidential series where I'll just educate people a little bit on
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be my stuff that you buy. It can be just like find a good thing out there that has these things. This is what you're
Mhm.
looking for. Like,
Yeah.
and just be real about it. Cause I'm like, I don't know how to be any other way than just
Yeah.
put the ponytail in and start to just talk about, okay, this is what's going on here. Let's learn about this together. And to me, education is it's huge thing, right? Educate people so they can make their own decisions on what's best for their life. Because
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can't write the script for anyone. I can't write the script for anyone, but we can educate people and tell them about things that we've learned. So
Mhm.
I kind of call myself a knowledge broker. I feel like
No, I
that's
like that. Yeah.
my main title in life. I'm just a knowledge broker. I'm going to gather all this knowledge and then I'm going to share it with my
Share
people. Yeah. So
it. Well, you're
that's
also
my official CEO title, knowledge
yeah.
broker.
You're also slash Olympian slash world
Oh
champion.
yeah. Well, there's a couple things.
Just that, right?
Couple
Yeah.
time world champion, Olympic bronze medalist, more degrees than. Oh, I should have showed you the medal.
You know what I meant to ask earlier, and then we got
I
going.
put it
Oh
on.
my God, there it is. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask where you keep it. You just keep it in your pocket,
Someone's
hey?
going to kick me off here soon. I could talk all day, so kick me off. I'll show you this last thing, but.
No,
So,
no, that's
uh,
oh, that's great.
China, the most precious stone
Amazing.
is jade. So they put jade into every,
Mhm.
and then on the back, this is Nike. So Nike's not just a sneaker. Nike is
They're
the
into metals.
goddess of victory. All girls out there, Nike's the
Ah,
goddess.
didn't even know that. There you go. Learning.
Yeah, it's pretty beat up looking right now. It's not very spiffy.
Where do you keep that?
Oh, it's in my drawer in my desk. Sometimes I don't even know where it is. Gosh, I'll pull it out. Everything's wrinkled up. I
Just
even
wear
have,
it to work. Yeah.
here's my 2 world championship thing. They're all wrinkled. There's my
There you
Gifu
go.
Japan and Lake Karapiro in New Zealand. That's
Beautiful. You got to keep those in a case or something.
but then you
Yeah,
don't
whatever.
share it.
Then you can't show it. Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to speak to like 15,000 kids who have had this around their neck, got their picture taken with it, touched it,
Right.
put it on their dogs, like,
Just
you know,
spreading COVID around.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I don't.
Now everything's virtual.
That's
So
right. It
how
is.
can
Yeah.
I spread this way?
Well, Tracy, amazing, amazing story, amazing person. It's been great
Uh,
catching up.
I'm grateful to know you, and I appreciate being on here to chat with you today and help you with launch your biz.
Yeah, I'm just doing it like you said. I'm just taking a swing, and with this kind of podcast thing, honestly, I just like talking to good people, and you have great. Everybody's got great stories. Yours is extra special, of course, but I just want to. This is what I've always wanted to do. So you know what? Screw it.
Do
Just do
it.
it.
I
Yep.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Well,
Keep
best of
going.
luck. Best of luck in all your ventures. I mean, we're gonna follow each other, and I'll see how you go.
Beautiful. All
Great.
right.
Okay,
Take care.
Trace. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, where's the record?